Creative Living for Today by Maxwell Maltz. The stories in this book are true, but in some cases, fictional names have been used. Preface. People live longer and longer lives these days. They benefit from government concern with their problems and from our rising standards of living, yet they find living difficult. I'm writing this book because the need is so great because people's years are so wasted. Our whole concept of living has been false. There is a drastic need to change our thinking. We must do something about the uselessness which so many people feel. We must do something to give them back their feeling of human worth. We must help them to reassert their belief in their own respects. In the last 10 or 20 years, we have seen the beginnings of a determined drive to win for Negroes their rights of equal opportunity and human self respect. The same should be done for people in general who are victims not of prejudice but of inertia. The individual citizen must gear himself to meet the challenges of creative living. He must will a positive change in his life patterns, in his attitude toward himself, in his image of himself as he moves constructively into the flow of life around him. One purpose of this book is to show people that they need not retreat from a life into a negative pattern of living, that they can live creatively in this century of pessimism. People must learn that when they set purposeful goals and make it a daily habit to attain them, their lives will have meaning. They must understand that life is more than a succession of 24-hour vacuums. All people must understand that creative living starts now. The chief enemy of creative living is the passive patterns into which people fall, telling themselves that they are meaningless specks in a huge world. They tend to pamper themselves on a diet of entertainment and become watchers in a world that passes them by. It's a basic idea of mine that while you are living, you live. Your days are full of goals. You work to strengthen your internal resources, the success instincts within all of you, so that you go out toward the world with the best that is in you. You build a more satisfying mental image of yourself. You see that it is the concept of your own worth as a person that activates and reactivates the functioning of your success mechanism. Your built in capacity to achieve fulfillment or plunges you backwards into a series of failures. Thus, you work to pump health and more health into your self image, steering your mind towards productive goals, which is my concept of psychocybernetics. Too much negative thinking is eating into people's minds these days. Too many people waste their lives feeling depressed, asking what is life for. I feel that my book will give you this hope that life can be an adventure, that there are still new horizons, that there is no end to the spiritual frontier. Your years need not be lived in an emotional dungeon. You can go out into life purposefully, usefully, and with pride in yourself. It is only realistic to say that in this age of anxiety, your years can be happy ones. Creative Living for Today. Chapter 1. The Search for Your Creative Powers. Life should be a fruitful, growing adventure for all of us. As creatures of the natural world, transcending animal limitations with our unique mental equipment, we have been endowed with potent tools for forging happiness. Green trees and cool blue waters around us give pleasure to our senses and supply us with fruit and fish to eat, while high in the sky the sun pours its warmth down upon us. Below us is the fertile soil, promises us rich vegetables to nourish our organs. The horse and the dog are our friends. The cow and the chicken give us milk and eggs and meat. From love and natural desire comes babies, who grow into children and later assume the responsibilities of adults in our community. Inside us flows our blood, renewing our tissues. The most efficient machine ever created works inside our bodies. More than all, this our mind is ours, and with it we can create. We have created mechanistic marvels, automobiles, skyscrapers, airplanes, refrigerators, air conditioners, television, satellites in outer space. With it, we can create contentment. Contentment in a joyful world in which we can harness machines to eliminate most of the dangers and hardships. Not only is it our potential to build meaningful lives, it is also our obligation to ourselves. And yet, the quest for happiness is, to so many people, a grotesque traffic jam. The motor keeps running, but the car can't move. Too many people have renounced happiness. Too many feel that living has lost its kick for them. Too many find no purpose in their days. Why is this? Why do people give up on life? Why do they give up on themselves? The pace is too fast, some say. They point to cars which roar 65 miles an hour on our highways, to jets which whiz 600 miles an hour in the skies. They talk about the hustle bustle of city life, the speed with which people move around on working days. They criticize the changes in our ideas about sex, about art, about dress. Who can keep up with these revolutions in thought? Individuality is dead, others say. Large corporations dominate business. The small businessman is losing out. Automation is hurting people. People are becoming data to be filed into the giant machine hopper and road to the dehumanization. Mankind is doomed. Others proclaim each year more and more nations possess nuclear weapons. Sooner or later, there will be a nuclear holocaust. Even if we avoid this, radioactive fallout will kill us slowly. Alright, there is some truth to the criticisms of today's world. I will not deny that. No thinking person will claim that we live in a perfect world, or that we live in a world without tremendous dangers. But people have always lived with imperfections and with danger. Down through history, we find people coping with problems. Some lived richly, some were afraid to live. And so it is today. There are people who live and people who use rationalizations to keep them from living fully. Criticisms of the modern world serve only as stumbling blocks if they lead people to turn away from life. These criticisms are invalid if this, rather than constructive appraisal, is their purpose. There is no excuse for negative thinking which wastes human life. When a person drowns himself in such a pattern of thinking, he is committing an unspeakable crime against himself. Yet, in our complex civilization, people too often live with boredom or anxiety rather than adventure. As I begin to write this book on creative living, I look forward to each chapter, each page with enthusiasm because I want to communicate to you my ideas on the meaning of life, because I yearn to tell you about the good life which you can make reality. I have written many books, never was there one I wanted more to write. I feel that I have a certain perspective. Being over 65, I have experienced for a long time the problems of a human being who wants to make the most of his life. I have been there with my eyes open, and I feel that what my eyes have seen, your eyes might share. I want to share my truth with you. That zestful, optimistic living can be a reality for people today. So many people do not see this truth. Rationalizations obscure it, and defeatism crushes it. Yet it is as real as the table at which you eat. It is as real as the fact that you are male or female. Contrary to what many think, truth can be pleasant, operating on your mind. I have been a plastic surgeon for about 40 years. I have improved the physical images of hundreds, thousands of people. This is constructive, satisfying work. I have strengthened chins, remodeled noses, removed disfiguring scars. I have eliminated excess tissue and wrinkles from the skin. That many people have come to me in testimony to their concern with their physical image. And why not? Why shouldn't any person care about the way he looks? A mature person should care. As a plastic surgeon, I have helped many people to feel better about themselves. Still, there is some more to life than a good physical image. There is another force which can sustain you amid the demands of living. It is a force that can remove scars from the mind. It is a force that can bring you a sense of security even when events in your world go wrong. It is your self image. In Hamlet, Shakespeare wrote, "To take arms against a sea of troubles. To live creatively, you must take arms. You must arm yourself with powerful weapons which will not fire blanks when you need their support." There is this potency in a strong self image, abstract as it may sound, there is enormous potency in it, and I will tell you about it in the pages of this book. Don't let worries get you down. It is deplorable how negative thinking can take hold of you, dragging you down into despair. Gloom and worry dominate the thinking of so many people today. The college student who spends half his time worrying about radioactive fallout knows nothing of real living. Sure, he can try to realistically improve the situation. He can write his congressman or organize a group to discuss the problem, but when he buries his being in worry, this is only self destruction. The young mother, whose thoughts are full of anxiety about her children, is also wasting her days. Not that she shouldn't teach them about life's dangers, not that she shouldn't try to protect them from catastrophe, but after that, why the why the self-torture? It won't help. The middle-aged businessman who is obsessed with money is not something in him dead. Of course, money is important, but what good will obsessive fears do? Positive creative planning, that's something else. All these worries and more you can justify if you wish. You can tell yourself you're only being realistic, but you're really not. Otherwise, there would be no Helen Kellers, no Franklin Roosevelts to overcome their physical handicaps and go on to to lives of greatness. There would be no Winston Churchills to rise up in the times of crisis and stand like rocks. in the face of tyranny. No, when you substitute worry for living, you must take the responsibility for it, because it's really up to you. You can make your days thrilling or you can make them miserable. Still, if you have wasted some of your life moping, don't blame yourself for it. You're not perfect. No one is. And self blame will not help you. Just read what I have to say and see if my ideas won't help you to live more meaningfully. The source of your strength. To bring health in your life, you need a healthy self image. You need to see yourself as a worthwhile human being. You must give acceptance to yourself. In psychokybernetics and the magic power of self image psychology, I described in detail how I arrived at my concept of the self image. As a plastic surgeon, time and again I improved people's physical features. Perhaps I would improve the construction of a person's nose or sharpen the lines of his chin. With the improvement, his reactions was usually one of pleasure when he looked in the mirror and saw his new image. There I am, he would seem to feel. I look better than ever before. It will be a better world for me. These cases were satisfying. My patient would feel happy with his improved image, and I would feel that my work was meaningful. Other people, however, reacted in a way which puzzled me until I came to understand how they felt. They would look in the mirror and freeze into indifference. Truly, though their appearance was improved, they could not enjoy the change. I came to understand the underlying meaning of their reactions when I talked to a number of these people. Because of unfortunate factors in their lives, invariably stemming from childhood or adolescence, they felt inferior and faced the world with defeatist, dejected, or hostile attitudes. The change in their physical image meant nothing to them, so weak was their concept of themselves as people, so weak was their self image. The lesson I learned from these experiences in understanding deeply, felt because I wanted to serve these people, will always be with me. It did not injure my confidence in the value of plastic surgery as tool for helping people. There is no question that one should look as well as one can, but I learned in addition that the image one has of himself, the way he sees himself deep down, is fundamental in his adjustment to himself and to the world he lives in. Sharpening your image of yourself. My aim in writing this book is to help you strengthen this self image so that you will tackle your life situations healthfully without allowing prejudice against yourself to eat its way into your mind. This is no easy task, and I'm not saying that it is. Deeply ingrained negative attitudes permeate our culture, and everyday people you know may try to submerge you in them. You must not allow yourself to be railroaded into adopting stereotyped, humiliating attitudes toward yourself. In your teens and 20s, you might hear that you are unlucky. Voices of gloom might tell you that automation will not allow you to be creative in work, that it is your bad fortune to be young in an age in which the individual is nothing. You might go toward life with one attitude, despair. In your middle years, you might hear that the world is too complex, that this age places demands on the individual's shoulders, which are too heavy, so you might reach out toward others with one attitude, negation. In your later years, you might feel that you are no longer useful. You might feel your life is over while many years remain, so you too will feel despair. True, these are not easy years for people. No years ever have been, but Still, there are wonders in life to explore. There are good moments to live. We must bury our negative thinking and feel the exciting promise of each day. There is much hope for people today. There is hope for people who understand how to work with themselves for their own betterment. You must, to live creatively, redouble your efforts to support yourself, to give yourself credit for your accomplishments, your positive feelings, your positive actions, your life building qualities. You must also redouble your efforts to accept your shortcomings and to look humanely upon your blunders. Moreover, you must specifically examine yourself as you are realistically, no more, no less, without falling prey to negative ideas which would shortchange your estimate of yourself. If your self image was never strong, you must work long and hard to strengthen it. If it was once strong but has deteriorated, you must eliminate self destructive ideas from your mind and build it again, a logical continuation of what it used to be. You will encounter roadblocks from many sources, but you can overcome them if you adopt positive attitudes toward yourself. And if you see yourself as someone you like, as someone with whom you would like to be friends, you must understand first the incredible power of your mind, for good or evil. It is not easy to comprehend that in a world of skyscrapers and superhighways, of atomic energy and astronauts speeding through outer space, it is the simple concepts and images in your mind that can make you happy or miserable. But this is so. Your thoughts, your concepts, your images, these are your most precious assets. You can buy a Cadillac and a mink coat and an expensive house and be unhappy. You can see yourself as a friend would and be content. You can circle the globe 100 times and make $1 million too, and still be miserable. You can strengthen your image of yourself and be content. Real meaning in your life. Life is something different for each person. Sad to say, some people hide, afraid to come out into the daylight. Others may take refuge in safe, dull activities which will protect them from both punishment and real human experience. There are many mechanisms with which people live out their days, enduring the boredom, tensing themselves to absorb the pain. But life should be an adventure for you today. Life should be exciting for you today. Life should be purposeful for you today. This is what we will explore in the pages of this book: the road toward the adventurous, exciting, purposeful life. I will locate for you the keys to dynamic hours, creative days, meaningful years. You must understand that you can help yourself. I will show you how. I will tell you about people like yourself, no matter how wealthy or how successful, how secure or how mature they are like yourself, and how they harness their powers for constructing living. We will work together on 15 concrete exercises which will strengthen your resolution. You must understand that, though we seem to hear mostly the negative, there are two sides of the coin. Even within the many confines of civilization, the human being might still be free and joyous. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote that the life of man is the true romance, which, when it is valiantly conducted, will wield the imagination a higher joy than any fiction. This was written in the 19th century, but it is still accurate if one's life is valiantly conducted. One final thought before I launch into the body of my book: preparation for rich living cannot start too soon. Now, now is the time. Now is the time to reappraise yourself, who you are, where you're going. Now is the time to see what you can do to improve your life. It is my hope that our readers will find refreshment and perhaps some common sense too in these pages. Security in an uncertain world. Uncertainty is a key word in our lives. We must live with uncertainty and steer our ship through life's perilous paths or retreat from life into a womb, an illusion or boredom. Since there are few guarantees to reassure us, we must learn to master these dangers to the best of our ability and still live contentedly. After the traumatic process of our birth, we live the uncertain, minute by minute moments of infants, in which a tolerant smile is followed by an indignant roar of rage and a howl of laughter, all within the space of 30 seconds. Then come the uncertainties of childhood, in which we depend on our parents, whose destinies fluctuate according to complex economic, emotional, and sociological factors which we cannot yet understand. The period of adolescence that follows is even more uncertain. Are we children or adults? Or what are we? How should we behave toward adults? What is this thing called sex? Is it good or bad? And whose opinion do you ask? And what do you do about it? Why do my parents still treat me like a child, a grown up? Or am I? Adulthood brings with it new problems, new uncertainties. The choices of vocations, the decision to be made about marriage and marriage partner and children and sexual activities, about business commitments and political views and insurance protection and community participation or non involvement, gambling or non gambling strategies. I could write pages and pages on the conflicts a responsible adult must face and the uncertainties surrounding his decisions and the outcome of his considered choices. The retirement years too bring problems, enforced idleness, and, at its sharpest, fear of death. Throughout their lives, most people worry about tragedy striking, the breadwinner losing his job, a fire that wipes out one's home, an automobile accident in which a loved one is crippled. And these are real possibilities that one must learn to live with without burying his head in the sand. What is the answer to these dilemmas of life? It is example, it is simple, really, more life, reaffirmation of life, why there is a life with the help of a healthy self-image that will give you the sense of certainty you need. Someday we will all die. That is God's law of life, and there is nothing we can do about it. But while we lived, did we live? Did we live, or did we just occupy space while we went through the motions of living? Did we enjoy every year, every month, every week, every day? Or did we manage to passively endure the dull moments? Did we see the green trees, smell the beautiful flowers, share with our friends, taste our lamb chops, love our work? Or were we so obsessed with worry that life could not enter into our troubled minds? As babies, we are born with a smile coming through the first hole of pain. While we live, we must live constructively so that time and again a smile might break through the pain. Now, what about friendships? One of the chief ingredients of a rich life? There is a saying to the effect that the dog is man's best friend, but I do not automatically fall in with silly sayings like this. I am fond of dogs, but if my observations are correct, a dog will be far from your best friend if you do not take care of him in the style to which he is accustomed. Man's best friend, any man's best friend, is his self image. If he sees himself as a good guy, he is on the road to contentment. If he doesn't, he will cause his own downfall. John or Tom or Alice or Eleanor might be your friend and may be a valued friend, but your best friend is your self image. Another person might like you, might even go out of his way to help you in a crisis, but he cannot live for you. He cannot make you he cannot make your decisions, cannot participate completely in your joys and heartbreaks. More, he cannot give you the capacity for success or failure, for self acceptance or self rejection. Your self image can give you this capacity. It can give you a sense of certainty as you live. If you see yourself as agreeable, if your picture of yourself is satisfying, you live with a marvelous form of certainty, the conviction that when uncontrollable factors go against you and events temporarily oppose your desires, you will support yourself. There will always be moments of adversity hitting you from the external world, as well as self doubts, plaguing you from within. The real test of your friendship for yourself is whether you rely to your own aid when you need the consoling sustenance of your best friend, you. When you're sure of this internal cushion in crisis, then you know how to be certain in this uncertain world. What Dr. Maxwell Maltz wants to say is that you don't need to be the black swan. You don't have to be fooled by randomness. That's what he wants to say. Do not commit spiritual suicide. It is easy to rationalize. You can say to yourself, but the uncertainty is real. How can I relax? You might protest that my point of view is not realistic. But I assure you that it is. And I assure you that I too know of life's dangers. Let me tell you a story. Suppose you manufacture a picture in your mind of this king, a man of 50, stocky build, walrus mustache, logs on the sidewalk. He is hurrying. There is an eager look on his face, as if he is anticipating some pleasure. He is heading for the entrance to the subway at the end of the block. As he nears it, a truck out of control comes hurtling onto the sidewalk and crashes into him, knocking him on his back. People rush to his aid, but it is too late. He is dead. Now switch scenes in your mind to the lobby of a New York hospital. A young man in white, intern's uniform, paces back and forth. People in the lobby look at him curiously. The young man has just become an intern and is anxious to have his father see him for the first time in intern's uniform. He feels proud, perhaps a bit vain. He is called to the phone, picks it up, says hello. His face undergoes a sudden change. He turns pale. Tears stream down his cheeks. He has learned of his father's death, of his father run over on the sidewalk by a truck. He turns away from the phone, seeing nothing in front of him, and stumbles away. He is still sobbing. I was that in turn. The man was my father. My world seemed to be over after this. I wondered if I wondered if I would ever get over the shock, if I would ever recover from the horror. I ate little, slept less, felt bitterness fester inside me. I felt tired and depressed, even walking seemed an effort. My thoughts were sometimes incoherent. For months, I lost my contact with reality and retreated from the world of people and pain. Finally, I realized that I had to continue with my life and with my work. Even if my father would never see me as an intern or a doctor, I had to vindicate all the years of struggle he went through for me. I began to see my friends again. I learned to laugh again. I picked up the pieces and put them together. I renounced spiritual suicide and once more began to live for each day. This is what we all must do in life. We must survive misfortunes, survive uncertainty, pick ourselves off the floor, and go back to creative living. But you need a friend at times like this, your self image. For a proper self image is the powerhouse within you that enables you to stand up under stress. Indeed, the power of your self image, intangible as it is, can outdistance the uncertainties with which you may wrestle. Many people would feel ruined if what happened to golfer Ben Hogan happened to them. At the top of his game, Hogan, as many will recall, almost lost his life in a terrible auto crash. Few conceived the possibility that he would ever play top echelon golf again. Yet Ben Hogan had a faith in himself that enabled him to overcome such a horrifying experience. Not only did he return to golf, but he returned as a champion. We can remember the experience of Viktor Frankl in the concentration camps. Would you still be playing football if you were Jerry Kramer of the professional Green Bay Packers? He has been operated on for a chipped vertebra in the neck region and has played this violent game with a broken ankle. 3 weeks after a huge splinter pierced his groin and tore through his abdomen, Kramer was back in a football uniform. With a detached retina and with a shotgun wound, he has played blockbusting football. Once he was hurled from a car going 100 miles an hour. The car, smashing into a tree, rolled over Kramer and erupted in flames. Kramer got to his feet and daunted, ready for new experiences. To the best of my knowledge, he is still knocking down opponents for the Green Bay Packers. He has more than his 250 odd pounds of muscle going for him. He has belief in himself. Let me tell you another story. This one is about war, and nothing is more uncertain than war, especially if you're in the frontline infantry. War and dentistry. This friend of mine was drafted into the army during World War II. It was shipped to Europe a few months after D Day. A rifleman in an infantry company. In Alsace Lorraine, he first saw action against the Germans. He was dethroned about 6 months, emerging as one of a handful of survivors in a company of about 200 men. He rose through the ranks, from private to staff sergeant, was recommended for decorations 3 different times, received one medal for heroism, for honor. He led many patrols at night behind the German lines, went first in countless attacks on fortified enemy positions, escaped death more than once by inches. Once in a large town near the German border, he knocked out an enemy machine gun and saved a wounded man's life, carrying him to safety. Another time, his lieutenant, during a midnight patrol behind the German lines, called on him to take his squad through barbed wire and minefields to capture prisoners for intelligence. He went first, seized 4 prisoners from a house, and the information they revealed might have helped defeat a massive German counterattack. On a patrol again, he took his squad across a bridge into a lone house on the outskirts of a small village. At dusk, a German was killed storming the doorway. He and his men spent the night in the house, separated from their comrades across the bridge, the decaying corpse in the doorway. My friend's quiet courage kept his men calm during the terrifying night when all feared they might be surrounded and killed. Once he was foolhardy and got away with it. He went back with a body from their outpost in a house they were in a town just over the German border to a beer factory they had bypassed the day before. The two hoisted a huge beer barrel on their shoulders and crawled back through the streets of this town infested with snipers and barraged by German 88 artillery pieces to bring the beer to their comrades. Anyway, he survived the war. Frightened, naturally, he was nevertheless able to control his fears and to assume leadership, while others were breaking down under the mountain strain. Does it surprise you that a fellow who has known such danger and uncertainty is terrified of the dentist? That he finds it difficult to work the day before he has a dental appointment, even for a cleaning or the filling of a small cavity? That he grips the arms of the dental chair desperately, even at the sound of the drill beginning to hum? That he breaks out in a cold sweat when the drilling starts? How do you explain this? Self image. At the front, he felt accepting of himself, was proud of his role, was therefore able to endure the ordeals he had to face. In the dental chair, he feels ashamed of his fear, which he knows is unjustified. His image of himself shrinks. I find this a fascinating story because it gets right to the heart of the basic truth which I will pound home to you again and again. It is the strength of your self image which, by and large, will determine whether or not you can overcome your obstacles. Realistic uncertainties might be unpleasant factors now and then, but you can live with any danger if you are with yourself all the way. As life gets faster, with discotheques springing up all around you, rock and roll music, jangling your nerves, swerving cars almost dismembering you as you cross the street, and jets thundering overhead, you must turn to your self image for your certainty. You must rely on your image of yourself. You must build it every chance you get. Here's an exercise that will help you. Exercise 1. Each day, several times a day, when you are shaving or applying lipstick, brushing your teeth, or washing your face, look at yourself in the mirror. Any mirror will do, as long as it is unbroken and unclouded. The main idea is that you get a good look at yourself. Take stock of your physical image. Don't run to your next hustle bustle activity of the day. Stay a while and look. After you're finished with your brushing or washing or whatever, stay a few minutes more and get reacquainted with your face. Why reacquainted? Because chances are, if your mind is spinning jumble of worries, you have forgotten the nature of your real physical image. You have lost it. You have lost it to obsessive fears, to anxieties, to depression. You might easily image faces which threaten you. Perhaps your boss or a competitor who beats you out for things, or a policeman who made you feel guilty while he wrote out a ticket for some minor traffic violation. But your own image, have you lost it? If your self image is weak, you doubtless have. However, I must first make one thing clear. This is not meant to be an exercise in self love. The encouragement of narcissism will do you only harm. Do not look at yourself and tell yourself that you are perfect, that you are better than other people. This would be a distortion and would only earn for you enemies or people who laughed at your foolishness. This mirror gazing is a rescue operation. It is a rescuing of your physical image from the avalanche of life forces which can submerge it. You're reviving your physical image of yourself. As I will show you, you will also revive your interconnected emotional image of yourself. And we will tie them together into a realistic integrated picture of what you are, a human being trying to do his best for himself and others in a world full of avenues for rich, creative living. As you look at yourself in the mirror, do not let yourself fall prey to the opposite of narcissism, destructive self criticism. Your features might not be perfect. Do not expect perfection. Accept your image as it is. Your purpose is self discovery or self rediscovery. Untangle yourself from the web of anxieties and tensions that whirl around you in your brain. Break free from the frightened child feelings which grip you and just look at your face for a while. For it is the face of a person who has lived through experiences and achieved successes, few perhaps, minor perhaps, but successes. See the person behind the face, the human being behind the face. Look at yourself realistically and keep this image of yourself alive. But be good to yourself and look into your treasure box of experiences for your successes, for your good moments, for your winning feelings. What Dr. Maltz wants to help you is to, first of all, he wants to from you some kind of self-reflection, to reflect on yourself. I'm sure that some of you have a definition about what we call self-consciousness, and to be self-conscious is actually beneficial. We can reflect on ourselves objectively as well as subjectively. We have also what we call cognitive biases. They are laws as Dunning-Kruger law or the Dunning-Kruger effect. The fact is that we should not overestimate or underestimate ourselves, but we have to be closer and closer maximally to the truth about ourselves. We continue. Our astronauts have orbited around the Earth for days and days and then have come back. You orbit every day around your self image. Your lifeline is attached to it. When you venture forth into the world of people and things, if your self image is strong, you will feel at home in this world, even with its dangers and uncertainties. You will retreat only if your image of yourself is a poor one and therefore people's opinions of you upset you. There is much commotion about outer space these days, but surely it is obvious that the inner space within your mind is what is important to you. Do not doubt the imperativeness of this exploration into inner space. See yourself realistically, physically, emotionally. See your mind, then your successful experiences in life. Picture them over and over and over until they become part of you. Every day, look at yourself physically and in your mind and work to strengthen your image of yourself. Always working to strengthen this inner space of your mind. Make every day a voyage of discovery into this inner space. You can count down from 10 to 0 and ask yourself, how is my self image today? Symbolically, you're on a bicycle moving forward. Don't drive backward. There's only one kind of a creative retreat, a permanent retreat from past mistakes, failures, griefs. Cut the umbilical cord now from past distresses. Let the past get lost in the orbit of time. Living means going forward, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you like it or not. Go into orbit in life, don't retreat into empty space. Here, Dr. Maltz wants you to take responsibility for your life. As you look into your mirror, tell yourself that you will go forward, that you will not passively submit to the opinion of others, but that you will be with yourself, face to face with yourself, strengthening yourself, supporting yourself. It is this sense of self that will help you to live creatively. Every day, take advantage of your few minutes in front of a mirror to get closer to yourself in the sensible way I have described, and you will be building the self image which you need for resourceful living. The need for inner certainty. You must develop this inner certainty because the external world will always have its dangers. You can survive them if you strengthen your feeling of self. I know of a man who fled from the Nazis halfway across Europe, who spent 3 years in the shadow of death, who is today a successful salesman and father of 3 fine children. I know of another man, a young man who escaped through the Iron Curtain and, after many terrifying experiences, finally went to England and then to the United States, where he is now doing well as an expert in refrigeration. How would you like it if you moved your family of 4 from your apartment to another apartment miles away? Just as you had finished unpacking, your company offered you a promotion on condition that you move immediately to another state? I know of a young fellow this happened to. It didn't throw him. He accepted the enormous inconvenience, told his wife that they were moving again and he did well in his new job. What about woman? Each time a woman becomes pregnant, accepts the responsibilities of motherhood, she is also accepting the uncertainties of fate. What will her child be like? How will it look? Will it be normal, boy or girl, like father or like mother? How will her unborn child make out in life? Many years ago, a friend of mine, a famous novelist in her 50s, was in an auto accident. She came to see me in my office. She was in a terrible panic. I succeeded in calming her somewhat. Then I say to her, listen, dear, you have lived through a rough experience. You're on a fence now, but you can stay there. You have to jump to one side or the other. Which side do you want to jump to? The side of fear, negation, frustration, or the creative, positive, useful side? It's not easy for you now, I know, but you have to decide, to choose. She was able to pull herself together. She assumed her former life going grow in the world. She had enough respect for herself to rise above the frightening experience. I lectured in Denver, Colorado not too long ago. After I finished, a man of about 70 came up to me. Your talk was very instructive, doctor. Perfect for younger people. But I have lived my life. I'm on borrowed time. What can it do for me? What can you do for me? I said, everyone is on borrowed time, whether 7 or 70. Every day is a lifetime. Living means that you must live each day to the full, to forget your past errors and disappointments and your future uncertainties. Start living right now. Do your best and accept your best. You have no right to give up on life. The road to happy living. Life holds many surprises for us, not all pleasant, and the person who will live creatively in today's world must develop a strong self image. You cannot rely on luck, and you cannot base your life on the opinions of other people. You must do it yourself, and you must do it in a world full of frustrations and dangers. You must constantly work to improve your mental image of yourself, to feel better about yourself. You can do this if you are willing to work hard without preconceptions of magical solutions, following the suggestions I will offer you in this book. Each day you have many occasions to look into a mirror when you brush your teeth, when you shave or powder your nose, when you comb your hair, when you wash your face. Go beyond these simple useful functions and use the mirror to help you to become reacquainted with the outer image of a self you may have lost sight of in the rushing pace of life today. Learn to accept this physical image of yourself and the inner self behind it. We will discuss the principles underlying such self acceptance in the following chapters. You must recover your sense of self. Many people have lost this sense and do not understand that they have lost it, or the sorrowful consequences of these loss. You must understand this. You can have an expensive house, two cars, a sizable bank account, own stocks in real estate, and still feel poor if you have lost touch with a wholesome image sense of yourself. If you feel poor, then uncertainties will frighten you, and you will find them all around you. Pliny the Elder, the famous Roman writer, once commented that the only certainty is that nothing is certain, but life's perils need not worry you, they need not keep you from full living. Not if you feel that you're a worthwhile person. You must be able to allow yourself joy. You must feel at one with yourself. Then a sense of security will replace worry, and you will be able to live happily with a minimum of uncertainty. Chapter 3: The Power in Life Activities. How do you spend your day? The minutes and hours that tick away on your wristwatch, and are they your opportunity or your burden? Do you say to yourself, "Oh, it's so early in the day. How will I kill the next few hours?" Or do you move toward life activities, bristling and eager, seeking new adventures, mastering new mechanisms or concepts, understanding more about your human fellows? Time moves too fast for you. You cannot get enough minutes and hours to encompass your interests in the world. Life is a misleading word because people do so many things with it. The person who broods in self pity and vegetates while others pass him by is only half alive. If you are like this, don't feel ashamed. You have millions and millions of people for company, but understand that you must try to change so that you have a chance to know what happiness is. For there is happiness, there is power in life activities, there is strength and joy in going forward toward other people, toward the processes around which civilization has fastened its approval or its permissiveness. This may seem an obvious point to make, but often we lose sight of the most elemental truths, and this can cost us greatly in terms of suffering. When you wake up in the morning, you must alert yourself to the day ahead, to the possibilities for joyful living that the coming hours will bring if you use them fully. The things you do during this day may not shake the world, but they may make your world. I know of a fellow who would swear by a hearty breakfast to start the day full of energy. He would stow away 6 or 8 eggs, 3 or 4 bowls of cereal, 10 or 12 pieces of toast, and wash it down with several glasses of milk and 3 or 4 cups of coffee. The results in his case were dubious. He developed a big stomach, but he did have one good idea: start the day right, get energy to live. Unfortunately, however, many people are passive to life and withdraw from its pleasures. It is this movement away from life that I would like to see reversed. It is this renunciation of people's creative potentials that I would like to see exposed as absurd. When you want to, go fishing and lap up the sunshine, but do it actively, not passively. Otherwise, even the fish will say, "I won't bite. Can't you move about a little more?" My advice to you, you people who go from bed to television, set to newspaper, to movie house, to restaurant, to bed, is there is more to life than being passive. There are great things that you can do every day. Open your eyes to them. Open your eyes. The joy of productive work. First, let us consider the hysterical flight from work at about 5 o'clock each day. A flight as urgent as one from an approaching hurricane or from a Martian invasion. Is work such a scourge? Is it as deadly as a boa constrictor, snake, its coils winding about you, squeezing you to death? Many people nowadays seem to think so. Work is like an alarm clock to them. They are clock watchers who cannot wait for the signal to get away. I disagree empathically with this concept. I think that productive work is one of the true goods of life. When you work productively, you manufacture more than money. You also manufacture a sense of self esteem for yourself. The Scottish essayist historian Thomas Carlyle wrote, "Blessed is he who has found his work. Let him ask no other blessedness." Even in the meanest sorts of labor, the whole soul of a man is composed into a kind of real harmony the instant he sets himself to work. I have not always agreed with Carlyle, but I can second these words from my own experience. I have known people functioning harmoniously in the world of work whose souls shriveled when they lost or gave up their jobs. Even their faces changed. Indifference was in their eyes, where once there had been excitement. It is true that some people work at jobs ill suited to them. Their work is enslavement because they do not enjoy it. They work only for the money. They do not feel the exaltation of a person who pours his most productive powers into his work. If this is your situation, you must think about remedying it because your chances for creative living are slim if you feel that in your work. Perhaps you haven't given your job the attention it deserves. Perhaps you haven't opened your eyes completely to the potentialities around you. Perhaps you are not aware of the fact that you and not the job might be at fault. Try to remember that, in many instances, you create the opportunity, not your job. If your job is at fault, you must then find for yourself another line of work if you possibly can. Even a small cut in a pay might be worthwhile if you are able to switch to work which makes you feel more alive. If this is not possible, you might sublimate your work productivity in enriching hobbies. Never withdraw from productive work into inertia. You are a human being, not a mattress, and you should utilize your human resources all your life to attain a feeling of completeness. You must plan now for the future. Think about what activities you will be doing later on when you retire or when your work becomes less demanding. I am over 65 and long ago realizing that my days as a plastic surgeon would not last forever. I began to study the craft of writing. I talked to writers and editors and publishers and read books on writing. Then I began to write books. Today I spend half my work time practicing plastic surgery, the other half writing. When I am 75, I will still be working, mostly as a writer. This is how much I value work that I love. I feel as productive as I have ever felt. This makes me feel good. I continue to enjoy fully my interconnection with the world. There is joy in work that you love to do. There is growth in it. Leo Tolstoy once wrote that man's happiness in living is involved in his work. This is so true. Your time is yours to enjoy. When you finish your work, you will have the gift of time. But what we will do with this gift? When you finish your work, we- you will have the gift of time, but what we will do with this gift? Chances are your hours are shorter than they used to be, even if you're a housewife. So you will have more time to enjoy yourself. But you might say, I don't know what to do with my time. It is a terrible problem. This is not correct. If you feel this way, time is not your problem. You're the problem. You must see this, and then you must do something about it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to throw away a gift. Sometimes a small child, in a fit of temper, will destroy a genuinely loved object. But if you are reading this book, I assume that you are not a small child. Childhood has long since passed. The period of experimentation is over, and thus trial and error days will not return. You must now know what you are doing. You have tools at your command. One is the wisdom, the sense of values gained from your years of living. Surely you must see the preciousness of your free time. In the words of Benjamin Franklin, dost to love life, then do not squander time, for that is the stuff life is made of. You must learn to use this life stuff, to fill it with active living, not with boredom, apathy, resignation. Would you empty your wallet or pocketbook into a trash can? Then why throw away time, which is also valuable? You must learn to use time energetically, productively, to enhance your feeling of true participation in and enjoyment of the life process. You can channel your time into all kinds of stimulating areas. You must realize that leisure time is just as important as work time. You're a whole person, not just a working machine, and you alone have the opportunity within you to keep yourself whole. Leisure time might mean many things: sports, painting, cooking, card games, gardening, and a host of other activities. You must realize that leisure belongs to you, like your eyes, like your heart. Take it. You and you alone must find one aspect of leisure that will help you reach self fulfillment. Take a look at yourself in the mirror, ask yourself, without playing games, who you are and what you're doing with yourself. This self confrontation requires an answer. You can be on the fence of indecision. Once you honestly make a response, you will find the activities You will find the activities that will make you happy. And when you do, play the fool. Concentrate creatively on the activity. No one can do it for you. When you play tennis, play tennis. When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. When you talk, talk. When you're gardening, garden as if it is for the moment the most important thing in your life. I must warn you that concentration is a process that can be done creatively only if you learn to do one thing at a time, and you learn to do it well before you take on another challenge. You can do one thing at a time, positive or negative. Concentration does not mean exhausting yourself with too many activities all at once. Choose one and master that. Then go on to another. You will find great satisfaction from these leisure time activities, which you have made a part of your new creative life. A good rule for both work and leisure time is to set a goal for yourself each and every day. A goal every day. Since this is so important and it lies in the foundation of my theories on psychocybernetics and self image psychology, I have devoted a full chapter later on in this book to the need for goals, but I will mention it here. To enjoy yourself, you must have goals. Living is a series of goals, and the question is, do you achieve them, or are you frustrated? Do you gain pleasure, or is pain the result? Many people understand the importance of goals in living, but are too harsh in their demands upon themselves. They feel that their goals are too insignificant, that since their achievements will hardly speed the enactment of total nuclear disarmament, 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 or end our racial prejudice, these goals are not worthwhile. This is a mistake. While you might not be President Johnson making decisions of global importance, or Richard Rogers working on a new musical which millions may see, or Mickey Mantle whose home runs carry 450 feet, you're an individual also. You too are made in God's image and endowed with a wonderful body. You too have a mind, feelings, needs, aspirations, beliefs. You too mean something. If you mean something to yourself, if you are a teenager, there is no shortage of goals for you. Choosing a vocation, mastering a skill, exploring an alien subject matter, hitting a baseball, learning a popular dance, making new friends, meeting a congenial mate, and within the span of these broad goals, you can pinpoint daily goals that are satisfying for you. If you are in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, your broader goals might change in terms of specifics, but they are nonetheless potentially satisfying. You might be involved in enlarging your vocational scope, raising a family, managing money skillfully, learning hobbies. From day to day, you too may aim at achievements within the framework of these larger goals, or simply at spur of the moment things that are fun. You should think in terms of daily goals too, not just life goals. If you're older, cooking a good meal for yourself and your husband is a fine goal. It might be commonplace, but it is productive. You give him satisfaction with your labor, and the more creatively you work with your ingredients, the more pleasure you give him and yourself. Painting a picture might give many people days of enjoyment, even weeks. Mixing the paints, organizing your materials, brushing on your colors, shading and shaping for subtle effects. It's not Rembrandt. That's not the point. Are you putting the best you have into the picture? Is it more imaginative or more vivid or more daring than your last picture? Would you like to frame it and hang it in your living room? No? Well, maybe the bedroom this time. Next, try the living room. It's more important to you than the next flight into outer space. And it should be. You must not block yourself off from your goals. You must move every day, feel a sense of direction toward the goal every day, no matter how small that goal may be. You keep moving in the stream of things, doing the best you can, and if you have no goal, you keep moving anyway, and the goal will catch up with you. Your sense of direction is forward, toward success. Recently, a woman consulted me about removing some wrinkles from her face. She wondered if she was doing the right thing coming to my office without letting her family know. Why didn't you tell them? I asked. They would be against it. My husband and my husband and I married my husband and married daughter would think me vain and foolish. I say that in my many years of practice as a plastic surgeon, I never saw a case of out and out vanity that people seek the aid of the plastic surgeon for psychological, social, and economic reasons. They want their defect removed because they want a second chance in life. She said, "That's it, doctor. I don't want a second chance. I want to look my best for my family." Explain it to them, I suggested. Later, I operated on this lady. While she was in the hospital, she confessed that she hadn't been able to speak to her husband. The operation was entirely successful, but her husband was furious, unforgiving. Too often people block attempts at movement, as this woman's husband did. Internal wrinkles, deeper than facial wrinkles, remain. Plastic surgery will not remove these inner wrinkles. Only forgiveness will. The pleasure in doing. While I was organizing my material for this chapter, a letter came in the mail from Houston, Texas. I read it and felt pleased. It was from two women who had read my book Psychocybernetics and set about applying its principles. They wrote that I had opened new areas of possibilities for them, allowing them to attempt projects which they had never before dared to consider. Since realizing that their limitations in action were largely limitations which only they could impose on themselves, they freed themselves to write a children's book in the bookstores, write a screen treatment, write the first 5 chapters of a mystery novel, form a corporation, think up 2 games which they are about to market. All this they wrote in less than a year. We both have full time jobs, they added. Don't tell us to slow down. We are having the time of our lives. If stuck, we program, and out comes the answer. With all this, we thought you deserved a word of thanks. This woman set goals for themselves, knocked over unrealistic inhibitions that kept them from attacking them, felt their words strongly enough to push forward, and then let their success mechanisms work for them within the range of their creative abilities. You need not set as many goals or be as ambitious in the caliber of your goals as these two women, but you must you must recognize the success trust in you and seek to free it, not block it. God did not put you on this earth to languish in mystery. He gave you success impulses. You must use them. If you have problems, if you meet obstacles, then you're just like most people. Most of you are familiar with the life story of Helen Keller, who overcame staggering physical handicaps to rise to her incredible achievements. You may not know that Florence Nightingale, the famed nurse, was a confirmed hypochondriac whose services of mercy involved convincing herself first that she was not dying. If you learn to believe in yourself and do what you want to do, your accomplishments might amaze you. People can be more fun for you. Are people fun for you, or do you find them boring? Do you try to relate to people, or do you avoid involvement? Your relations with other people constitute one of the fundamental facets of your life. Facets of your life. These relations are complex. Many people underestimate their complexity. There is so much need to improve the caliber of your friendships. What finer goal for part of every day? What could have greater meaning? There is room for much growth in this area of interpersonal relating. Among people today, endless problems stand in the way of true friendliness, conflicting self interest, inhibition, resentment based on nothing, inability to listen, egocentric attitudes, grudge holding of years' duration, intolerance toward individual differences, and so on. I could extend this catalog for another page of solid type, listing the many elements that keep people from friendly communication with each other. I do not believe in obscuring the truth. If there is anything I have observed in the relations of human beings, it is our tendency toward friction, more often subtle than direct. There is much inner hurt, secret misunderstanding, preconceived nonsense. There are emotional scars that heal slowly, if at all. None of us is immune from making mistakes with other people, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I have made my mistakes too. You must not withdraw from people when you feel hurt. Instead, think actively of ways you can improve your sensitive relationships. What a joy when you do. One's capacity for friendship, which can be developed, is basic to one's capacity for happiness. You can make this art of friendship one of the greatest goals in your life. As a matter of fact, it must be the greatest goal in your life. Basic to anything, however, no matter what your circumstances, is your attitude toward yourself. Happiness in your self image. To a great degree, you are what you think you are, and you can do what you think you can do. Your attitude toward yourself gives you a lift or pushes you into despair. Your self image, this is what gives you joy or heartbreak, success or failure, happiness or pain. Your self image can help you to do what you must to enjoy your work, and it can help you to enjoy your play. It can give you confidence in your work and in the activities which you choose for your leisure time. Resolve to be joyful, to be charitable in your self appraisals, to see yourself in your best moments, to strengthen this pleasant vision of yourself based on reality, not myth, but on a positive picture of reality. While a person who has had wholesome help in his formative years will find the maintenance of a healthy self image possible with no effort at all, still, with effort and understanding, I feel that anyone can strengthen this mental picture of himself to the extent that life is tolerable, even rewarding. Then, with repeated effort, with compassion for his limitations, with endless striving to bring forth the image of himself that is uplifting, and everyone has some good moments, he can continue to consolidate his gains in self esteem. Two ideas which will never let you down. First, set goals every day you live. And two, never withdraw from life. A young spirit in an old body. Recently, on a lecture tour, I visited the West Coast. I went to San Diego and then by plane to San Francisco. Seated next to me on the plane was a lady of 86, and we talked to each other. She was of English extraction and told me how she had founded a home for older English people in California, not far from Pasadena. At 86, she still visits the home every day as a sort of president emeritus. and also finds time to attend meetings of a club she helped create devoted to the interests of older people. I'm active every day, she told me. Do you find that your age handicaps you? I asked. I don't think about my age. I enjoy myself and I try to make each day exciting. I like to talk and I like to listen too. You're a very youthful 86. Every day is interesting to me, she answered. She was no hypocrite. Her eyes sparkled with life. After a few days in San Francisco, I boarded the plane to return to San Diego. En route, we stopped at Santa Barbara, where 50 youngsters aged about 9 to 15 got on the plane accompanied by their instructors. An instructor told me this was a club for delinquents, boys who ran away from home or who committed petty crimes. They were on probation. This time, my seatmate was a boy of about 12. Tough young, his eyes were dull, reflecting whatever frustrations he had lived through in his brief life. Whatever clouds had blurred his self image. He turned away from me and spent the entire trip looking through the airplane window. When we circled over San Diego, he made his only observations. I see people down below. They look like bugs. The remark in someone else could have been innocent, perhaps, but in this sad boy with the dead eyes, I could feel the I could feel that the comparison of people with bugs had meaning. To him, people were nasty creatures. His self-image was weak, and he could admit no virtues to others, in others. He saw life as futile. I felt sorry for the young fellow and hoped that the guidance he received in the club would help him to find the positive qualities in himself that he could not see. I could not help comparing the eagerness of the 86-year old lady with the listlessness of the 12-year-old boy. It is not age that dulls people's lives, it is emotional blockage. The barber shop quartet. In San Diego, I went to a barber shop to have my shoes shined. I sat down and listened to the talk around me. A quartet of men were singing the prices of their cars. I have a Chevy, a beauty. It's done close to 30,000 miles and no trouble. Mine's done over 40,000. How often do you get the oil changed? Oh, I don't know, maybe every 2,000 miles. How about you? I don't think that's enough, Paul. I get my changed every 1,000 miles, filter every 3,000 to 5,000. That's the way you keep your car in good shape. I don't know, my car's done over 60,000 and I change the oil maybe every 1,200 or 1,300 miles. You take care of your car, it will take care of you. The four men kept talking, to getting haircuts, to cutting their hair. The show shine fellow and I just listened. I had to think to myself, these fellows seem to know cars, and there's nothing wrong with that, but do they know anything at all about their self image? They look to be about 35 to 45, all of them, but do they ever think of creative living? They like to be good citizens, they are well shaved, they keep their hair cut neatly, they oil their cars, they probably spend their Sunday mornings washing their cars down so that the metal sparkles. Their cars will certainly get them to their destinations, but do they believe in other positive goals for each day? Do they see a glistening self image, or have they lost it in their fight for money and status and in their exclusive absorption in cars and such? George Bernard Shaw once concealed his readers to keep their souls clean, comparing them to windows through which they could then see the life around them. What sound thinking! But most of us, regrettably, take better care of our cars than we do of our image of ourselves, which disappears somewhere, and with it our drive for happiness. The strength is an active philosophy. In our difficult world, there are many easy solutions, but these solutions are not always the best ones. If you are bored, you might spend your spare time engulfed in a combination of television, radio, movies, phonograph records, but wouldn't you feel better if you actively tackled some project, some hobby, something to which you committed your creative zest? If you are lazy, you can stick a pre-cooked dinner in the oven, but perhaps you might have cooked a better meal yourself and enjoyed the living involved in doing this chore. You can even spend your day resting on your bed all alone, sealed off from life, but couldn't you do better? Needless to say, I'm not against television, movies, radio, phonograph records, or pre cooked dinners, nor am I against resting in moderation. What I am against is an essentially passive way of doing things. When you're passive, you retire from the excitement of life and the enjoyment of stimulating give and take. You move away from life process. You kill life in yourself. Yet life can invade you, can inflict suffering on you while you lie helplessly, passively, a victim of your own inertia. I'm in debt, you say, and I have to save my energy for making money. Does being a spectator help you? Well, I don't know, but yes, you may have financial problems, most people do, but a boring life will not stimulate you to overcome them. How about X, you say? He's only 45 and he just had a heart attack last weekend. That's too bad about X. I'm sorry to hear it and I'm sure you're sorry too. But it will not help you to bore yourself to death, worrying, apprehensively listening to your heartbeat. Your strength is not in the premature burial of your participation in life. It is in your pursuance of an active philosophy, in optimistic, realistic, active living. Do create, innovate, stay in the world, and do not baby yourself. Don't sheep yourself. Do you remember the story of the female aviator, Amelia Earhart? She was the first great woman flyer, the first of her sex to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. She loved airplanes, loved flying so much that she put off marriage for several years so that she could get her fill. Congress presented her with the Distinguished Flying Cross, and in the 1930s her name was on everyone's lips. She was feted, dined, deluged with fan mail. She broke flying records, delivered lectures, wrote articles. Finally, she started out on a flight around the world in 1937. Her plane just disappeared. There was worldwide interest, but search parties failed to find her. What happened, we will probably never know, but in all probability, Amelia Earhart died before reaching the age of 40. Terrible misfortune to a great doer, but a person like this, who goes and does, and lives and enjoys lives more in a short lifetime than someone with a lifespan of 100 who mops and dozes and never gets his feet wet. Why you live? This is the way to live, like an Amelia Earhart. Do, work, cook, paint, write, talk, argue, sew, play the piano, read, think, walk, dance, play checkers, play bridge. Do. You know what you like to do. Do it. You know what to do. You're a terrible bridge player. You pushed your partner to 7 no trump with 1 point in your hand. Well, I'm glad I'm not your partner, and I hope you're not playing for money, but if you're feeling the pleasure of playing cards, this is infinitely more worthwhile than laying on your bed, fretting, looking at the ceiling, even if your bridge partner gave you a very dirty look. You have found a choral group and joined it. You love to sing? Good, but you can't carry a tune if it means something to you. Practice your singing. Maybe a friend will help you. If you can't improve, perhaps the choral group will tolerate your discordant voice just because they like you. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to take part. You do have to be involved. The stronger your self estimate, the better, but regardless, you do have to remain in the mainstream of life. God created life in us so that we could live actively in the world He fashioned. God made us with our marvelous bodies and our complex minds so that we could have meaning and happiness in our lives. If you believe in a higher power, you must believe in the purpose in life, no matter how difficult the world might seem during depressing periods. Tear fear from your heart. Bury your negative thinking. Tell off friends who try to convince you that life is dull. Exercise too. One of the biggest obstacles to your setting of your daily goals will be fear of failure. You might decide to play it safe. If you try nothing, especially nothing new, then you will not blunder. At this point, you must help yourself. You must be a friend to yourself. Arrange yourself so that you are comfortable. Seat yourself in a plush armchair, or if you prefer, lie down on a couch or pace the floor. You know what will make you feel primed to think. Then reason with yourself. Everyone needs to do this. There is no person and never has been a person who is always reasonable. Ask yourself why you must be so perfect. Have you ever met a perfect mother, a perfect father, a perfect teacher, a perfect salesman, a perfect citizen, a perfect driver? Excellent, maybe, but perfect? Then why should you expect such unattainable perfection from yourself? If you are afraid to set goals for yourself, reason with yourself along these lines. Do it every day. You will feel better for it. I feel confident. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. When you start your day and set your goals, tell yourself, I might be a mistake maker, but I am also a mistake breaker. You will become a mistake breaker. When you live each day, courage, courage, with courage and bend your important little world to your will as much as you can, and in a constructive, cooperative spirit. And this positive performance will help you achieve your goals, will actually enhance your possibilities of success and happiness. Stop blocking yourself from your goals. Start living now. Chapter 4. Dynamic living starts now. Just as we get into the habit of doing things without questioning, buttoning a shirt, brushing our teeth, washing the dishes, so we tend to adopt culturally stereotyped ways of thinking without making a real individual selection. Often we may uncritically accept patterns of thought which do not make real sense. About creative living, for example, I think most people believe it is silly to devote time to thinking about creative living. One's life pattern is either dynamic or static. Planning will not help. I disagree. I believe firmly that sound planning plants the seeds of rich dynamic living. In rising above the animal state, man increasingly has used planning to achieve the goals he values, most of which are not spur of the moment accomplishments. The 42-year-old doctor, with his comfortable practice, will have figured out his life work perhaps in his early teens as a high school student. The lawyer and the physicist, too, doing work they like and receiving rewarding pay for their efforts, paved the way for their successes with similar planning. The incomparable inventor Thomas Edison, about whom we shall have much to say, was experimenting with his mechanical environment when he was 6 years old. Many of our timeless entertainers, such as Donald O'Connor, performed as children and enlarged their talents through experience and experimentation. Years of balanced creative living, these too must be anticipated. Plan them when you are young, middle aged, or in your later years, but start planning now. When you're in high school, in college, starting your first job, raising your children, building your career, cultivating your mature ideas, visiting your grandchildren during these years, you should be going beyond your function, always looking to fill your years with life. The essential ingredient in your plans must be the development of your belief in yourself as a human being in the world, not outside it. Living each day fully, not fleeing in fear from the demands of life. The search from childhood to old age is a search for a healthy self image. Fearful of approaching the threshold of adult life, we search for it during adolescence. We seek to strengthen it during adult life and spend a lifetime in this pursuit. If we are wise and if we do not lose it in paying homage to false gods and worthless values, if we are sensible, we continue to build on it during our later years instead of finding the easy way out in a passive withdrawal from life. Our people must realize that they must live fully today. They must understand that each day is a lifetime to be lived now and that the mistakes of the yesterday must be left in the tomb of time. The young become mature and the mature become young when they learn to deal with negative feelings and to rise through them to their full recognition of themselves as adequate human beings. This is not an oversimplification. Anything else is an overcomplication of something that is really simple. You must learn to accept yourself now in realistic terms. This is basic. I do not mean that you should constantly tell yourself how wonderful you are, how much better you are than anyone else. Once again, this is a narcissistic process of going away from oneself into a world of fantasy. Your estimate of yourself must be valid. You must take into consideration your fellows around you, aspiring to see yourself in your best moments, and try to prolong and extend these moments. You must also honestly see your weaknesses and be compassionate toward them, as you would be compassionate toward the weaknesses of a loved friend. My point is that you must, at as early an age as possible, feel good enough about yourself so that you need not run away from life. You must get into the habit of accepting yourself in the world in life without retreat, even if you find no perfection. If you truly accept yourself in the world you live in, you are laying the groundwork for dynamic living. This is the only solid base for real living. Orange drinks and cigars. Let me give you an example of how not to develop a strong self-image. When I was 17, I got my first job dispensing orange drinks at Coney Island in Brooklyn during the hot summer months. It was hot and one customer never stopped drinking. Me. Whenever there was slack business, I would hide behind the dispensing bar and ladle myself up some more orange drink. In spite of my delusion of profits, I earned $8 the first week, a few pounds heavier, the liquid swirling inside me. As I walked, I went to a candy store and bought a large box of 5-cent cigars. I smoked cigar after cigar until I got nauseous. Someone had to help me get home. There I threw up a few times, looked with horror at my pale face in the mirror, and stumbled to bed, where I tossed and turned all night. What is the point of this little story? It is not an attack on cigars. I smoked cigars today and I enjoy them. My point is that at the time I was not used to cigars and did not like them. I had never smoked one before and they were no part of my life, but I had an image of what I should be like. I should look like a successful cigar smoking he man. So bloated with a feeling of power in my ridiculous fantasy, I smoked cigar after cigar, basking in the glow of my unrealistic image of myself until it all went up in smoke, and I became sick. If taken in a symbolic sense, this story exemplifies the harm one can do to oneself by fleeing from his true nature as a human being into a world of fantasy, or of retirement from life for that matter. At no age in life can you afford to be ignorant of the true nature of yourself. At no age can you afford to turn away from your true self image with disrespect. You will do injury to yourself if you act in ways that you think other people expect you to act, if these ways run contrary to the fiber of your being. A girl in a boy's world. Now let me tell you another story, one which come back to me from the faraway world of my childhood. It's about Wingy, the president of our gang of boys, or leader, although she was a girl. It's about Wingy, who never gave up on life, who never gave up on herself. Growing up in the jungle streets of the Lower East Side in New York City, my friends and I learned to savor its noisy delights and to avoid its overcrowded perils. Wagons and carts spun down the narrow, tenement-lined streets. Quick on our feet, we would dart between the huge wheels, escaping injury as part of our daily life. Our childhood on those crowded streets had many joys. We would dive blissfully into the orange and melon infested waters of the East River, surfacing to see some enormous ship churning downstream. We would parade down close packed Attorney Street, and sometimes the pushcart vendors would give us leftovers from the food they had been selling. Our gang was a beehive of loud arguments about nothing, perhaps, but loud fun. But the carts could be dangerous. We regarded dodging their wheels as male sport, but Wingy insisted on joining us. This was before we made her a member of our club. At this time, we tried to avoid her. One day, Wingy was dodging the wheels of a horse-drawn beer wagon when a terrified dog came bounding up, causing the horses to rear. The wheel speeded up and Wingy, knocked to the street, found her right arm pinned between two spokes of a wagon wheel. It was a miracle that her arm was not ripped off, but from this time on, her arm was frozen into a ludicrous F shape, V shape. It stuck out from the shoulder, extending the horizontal shoulder line. Then the lower arm pointed in at her waist, completing the V. The V could swing back and forth and she could use her fingers somewhat, but she could not unfold her arm. Paralysis. When she ran, her arm would flap like the wing of a flying bird. So from this time on, we began to call her Wingy. Her real name was Mary. She was lonely. We boys in the gang, cruel as children can be, scorned her company. Many people would have been crushed by such a misfortune, but not Mary. She continued to be a tomboy, to wear her shapeless tomboy clothes. She could no longer swim in the East River with her crippled arm, so she began to take long walks along the waterfront. Many people would have retreated into a shell, confining themselves to their dark, silent rooms, cursing their fate, hating the world, hating themselves. Not Wingy. She found new life at the waterfront. A girl in a boy's and a man's world, often an object of ridicule because of her deformed arm. She refused to deny her worth as a human being. She did not give up on herself. It was early summer when Wingy discovered the world of the waterfront, the ships sailing into port to be unloaded, the husky longshoremen slashing their hooks into the bales of merchandise from foreign lands, hard-working men cursing in the sun. She liked to watch and soon made friends with one of the longshoremen, an artist with the hook, a man of sweat and profanity. He was surprised when she said she was a girl. She dressed like a very sloppy boy. But he accepted her interest, so did the other men. They put her to work as hauler and runner, carrying water buckets, fetching equipment. Her right arm would flap back and forth, while her left arm hauled and carried. Soon she was a fixture, running up and down this East River pier, hauling and fetching with her one good arm. She earned food for lunch and pay. She did what she had to do, and everyone respected her. In late October, in Indian summer came. The days were hot. We went to the East River, our gang of fellows, and jumped around on the barges. Suddenly, one of the boys, Red, was screaming for help. We tried to help Red, but he was wedged between the side of the barge and the edge of the pier. His foot was caught, and he was terrified. So were we. A gust of wind could blow the barge into the pier, and Red, sandwiched in between, could be crushed, even killed. We could do nothing. He was in such a position that only one of us could reach him at a time. No one of us was strong enough to pull him free. So someone ran for help. Help came. It was Wingy, paddling the air with her right arm as she ran, a scarecrow blowing in the wind. We told her to leave, but she kneeled on the pier, reached her left arm out to Red, and pulled him free. We were shocked. We couldn't believe our eyes. Working with the longshoreman, Wingy's left arm had grown strong. She had saved Red. Soon we elected her president of our gang of boys. This crippled, unwanted little girl. Finally, we respected her too. She was not always a tomboy, this stout hearted little Mary. Later on, surgery restored her right arm to normalcy. Then she resigned as president of our boys' gang. More of a girl than a young woman, she married and began to have children. This is not unusual. Most tomboys do settle into their natural role as they develop. What is unusual is that Wingy, in refusing to let her crippled arm force her to retire from life, gained an inner strength, a resoluteness, which had never been so much hers before. I remember her not so much for the heroic rescue of Red, but because she would not withdraw from life. She was a person at an early age who would not quit when the situation became painful. As long as she lives, I feel sure that Wingy will always remain young and vital. She will always accept herself as herself with no fantasy nor narcissism. She will meet life as best she can. The symbol of aliveness. Wingy will always remain in my mind a symbol of aliveness for a person like her who will not give up on herself even in adversity, will always be alive, a person with her unswerving belief in herself, ignoring the opinions of others, will never retire from life into a self imposed dungeon of darkness. This is sharp contrast to others I have known in my practice as acquaintances and friends or people who came to see me after reading my books, who found life difficult to endure because they disliked themselves with such a perverse passion. One such was the adolescent girl, clumsy with her hands and always conscious of her clumsiness, who had overheard her parents talking about her clumsy piano playing when she was a little girl, dedicating her life to the image of herself as clumsy. This girl not only played the piano poorly but was poor in all areas involving manual dexterity, such as sewing. Her self criticism extended to other aspects of herself until her mind, in late adolescence, was a beehive of stinging self blame. Fear was her dominant emotion until I explained to her that she couldn't be held responsible for the opinions of others. She got the message. Now, as an adult, she plays piano well, she cooks well, she sews well. Or the adolescent boy, son of a doctor I knew, who had joined a rowdy gang and carried a knife in his pocket, a troublemaker at school with bad grades in almost all his classes. At 15, resentment was his dominant emotion, and in his eyes you could feel his lack of trust in people until I showed him he could be a successful person and rise above resentment. Or the many boys and girls, men and women I had known in my lifetime as a plastic surgeon who, given a new face with the opportunity to expound on this newness and feel enthusiasm for the change and the possibilities, could feel no joy because they had really given up on themselves before the operation. So much suffering in people, so much suffering that people impose on themselves. I have seen it for months and years, and for decades. It is my happiness that I was able to help some of these people to feel better about themselves. It is my fulfillment that I was able to make some of them see that their truth about themselves was not real or that it was not only a partial truth. Some of them regained their spark and began to smile at life. From their dark retirement within their minds, they reached outward toward the world, a world which they found, even with its unceasing problems, was a far better place to live in. Like Wingy, some of them fought their way through their problems and their handicaps, physical and emotional and social handicaps, to function happily in a world in which this is not always easy. Some learn to smile, some learn to feel respect for themselves, some found life within themselves, aliveness at any age. If it is aliveness that we seek so ardently, we can find it at any chronological stage in our lives. When we think of aliveness, we think of a freshness and vigor, a spring to the step and a ring to the life. We think of driving curiosity, of eager creativity. The American poet Helen Hunt Jackson once wrote that, "Whom the gods love, live young forever." I don't know who the gods love, but I don't know that if you have a gentle respect for yourself, a belief in your fundamental goodness, you will feel alive and young as long as you live. You will not dedicate your years to inertia and complaint, to the emptying out of your woes into the nearest ears, which you hope will be sympathetic. No, the bubble will not have burst. The fires will still burn brightly within you. Your creative urge will be a compelling force. Vitality, creative vitality in all your new years, each day full of goals, aflame with earnest endeavor. No matter what your age, rich or poor, this must be one of your most cherished aims. When does your preparation start? It starts right now. If you're 16 or 46 or 66, it starts right now. You begin with a basic process of self education. It is a very simple process, yet we all seem to overlook it in the smothering clamor of miscellaneous, often irrelevant data that clutter up our minds in this hustle bustle world of ours. In this self educative process, you need to master the terminology of no dictionary. You don't have to hold to hold colleague degrees or to understand the theory of relativity. You must simply come to grips with yourself. You must assert the power and integrity of your self-image. You must establish the authentic dignity of your self-image on a realistic base as a foundation for full living at your present age now. Life is not a picnic. Sometimes there's no food at all, and ants and mosquitoes to boot. You must survive your failures and disappointments, charge back off the floor and keep punching. There are no handouts. You can expect only what you give yourself. You can only count on the spark and fire and friendliness which you, the thinker, give you, the acting person in life. Suppose you lose your job or your business venture is failing. You feel depressed. Who wouldn't? You feel frustrated, perhaps nervous or angry. For 2 or 3 days, you may be hard to get along with. Fair weather friends will avoid you and dogs will bark, but how are you thinking now that all this is in the past? Are you bogged down in a swamp of gloom, blaming yourself for your mistakes, hating those whose actions hurt you? Is your mind a staccato messenger of criticism, piercing you with reminders of what you might have done and with what you might have been? Do you see yourself over and over blundering and hate what you see so much that you end up losing sight of yourself entirely, blotting out the self image that is your best friend in life? Or do you see yourself kindly? Do you see yourself making your mistakes, yet forgive yourself and tell yourself that you are only human? Do you then resolve to avoid this type of mistake if possible, yet with a determination to accept yourself if you err again? Do you then see yourself in your good moments, making wise choices, carrying out intelligent actions, achieving what you wanted to achieve? Do you carry this image of yourself back into your mind, this image of yourself accomplishing your goals, this image of yourself as the kind of person you can be? If you can rebound from failure, any failure, in this accepting, non judgmental, positive way, you will feel vitality all the years of your life. Your problems will not terrify you when you think of them. Instead, you will feel hope because the pattern of your thinking is hopeful. And by finishing this video, I want to tell you what Maxwell Maltz ultimately wants to tell us is this: you don't need a new world. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a new image of yourself. Because the moment that image changes, your decisions change, your actions change. The ways you talk and walk change. And eventually your entire life follows. Most people are not stuck because they lack ability, but they're stuck because they are loyal to an old version of themselves. So the real question is not what should I do next, the real question is who I am willing to become. Because once that answer is clear, action is no longer a struggle, it becomes inevitable. Thank you for listening. Read by Stanislav Pavlovsky.